It's Podraza. I'm not making any of this up. Hi, it's Podraza. You're on a weekend away. Don't worry about this. If you do it on a weekend away, it's your choice. But I have to leave this message for you. It was quiet. And at a certain level, I don't read anyway. They read me, but I don't read them. And that's where that's at. Now, the next thing on this, I'm reading something about lupus. To my knowledge, that was a form of cancer anyway. But if they're using that as an excuse, they're still trying to nail me on a form of dementia. And I will not accept that. That's wrong. Now, that is not the case, and that's covering asses in my book. Now, as far as the knees, that was done. They were pulled out of socket. Now, I know they were pulled out of socket continually. Now, I'm going to do nothing about it and continue what I'm doing. That is over $1 and I'm delighted. They have little tablets for it now, which is even neater. Still doing that, still trying to eat well, and still trying to eat. And that is a major help when I do rest. Now, the next situation is what I read, however, I don't know what was wrong with Ma on that part. Now, what I read is that she had syphilis. Now, I don't feel that's correct at all either. And so that is what I read a long time ago. And then somebody said I had it. I don't know. I had a polyp removed. And he did an excellent job. Dr. Zerkes, Czerkes. He was at the Catholic Hospital Imaging, the section there for gynecology and all of that. But I think he's not part of that. Whether he utilizes that hospital, I don't know. But I think he was in his own business later on. I think he was bilingual. I think he might have been Russian. Young fellow, very nice to talk to. Very decent to me. Used a small speculum. I asked him if he'd mind. Doing that, he did. Took him no time to snip it. I felt close to nothing. And I didn't see, I don't know, there was supposed to be no problem on that subject matter at all. I've never had that before. I had that during marriage to Phil. Now, that is all I know. I don't see that there's any issue where I'm concerned. I do not douche. I'm not sexually involved. I don't know how that would work. I know there's a complication Egypt. Hi, it's Pat Podraza. I don't want them, those sonar people, I want them addressed hardcore in this community and in this state. They have to be addressed hardcore. Every night I lay down. I don't get sleep all night due to that sonar. They know exactly when I'm going to lay down. That has to be done. And I want it stopped. And I don't want any reference to Dr. Golden running in some alley. I got up, getting out of a vehicle to speak to him, and caught him anyway. They are some crazies. And I don't want anything to do with their bothering my daughter under any circumstance at all, or my son. And that would be ditto in Connecticut. That Irving Frank, I don't want to hear about anymore either. That should have been taken care of in Massachusetts if he had made a mistake. I tried to do that in Maine. That has to stop. That is my field anyway, in my head, and trust banking should have been at a point in time. I don't want their bothering me ever. That this should have taken place at all. That sonar has to be stopped here. Those males are horrible, and females when you go in and eat, period. And nobody wears a cap in a restaurant anyway. Honestly, they are despicable. And I wouldn't have mated that with them ever in Connecticut, Massachusetts, or Maine, in the condition of their brains anyway. They were the no good element, and that is how I view their associations anyway. Honestly, I want to know what happened to Murphy's husband. That was the worst marriage in terms of combining itself. She's dead, but I want to know what happened to Brian. I don't go after somebody's husband anyway, but I'm going to tell you, I didn't love him, but that was such a crazy union due to the personalities. I want to know what happened to that male. Did she marry another? She was so evil. Forgive me. I am only up because of the intensity of this sonar in the nighttime. It's better a bit yesterday. In the night, they know when I go to bed. And this thing blasts so loudly. This doesn't help. I want to know in Maine who engineers this thing, period. In the state of Maine, when that Phil Weber is dead anyway. I want to know who engineers it here. I know who I didn't want to be bothered with in there. And honestly, I have to know what happened to Brian Murphy in that situation. They were night and day. He was a worker, and he studied all summer to prepare for his courses in the fall, reading and preparing and planning. That is something I do and did and couldn't due to the lack of that licensing in the first place. Now in the future, that might be a suggestion. But about what you said, I first want to deal with my son on whether he wants to check those balances. Number two, we wait for that Stephen Cuthbert thing. That is a definitive that we do. And then after that, it is, I don't want to take it after that because they do this to ruin anyway. I am not for the one in this state who engineers this at all. That one here has to be finally stopped because there are decent people that some young are not saying anything. And those young males that are blitting and treating me like a dog in somebody out of a trash can, that has to stop in this state. It absolutely should not be allowed by a male at all. They're females. We finish on what you find out. I'm sorry, this is the last time this has to be addressed. It's major. That individual knows exactly when I go to the bathroom and ready to lay down in this bed, no matter what time. And every night's sleep has been ruined from the beginning. You say that Phil is deceased? I'm not asking you about lying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that should not have been continued. And I'm asking you, number two, we have to nail the individual who runs this sonar. I enjoy this region, and it's drivable to Portland, drivable elsewhere. There has to be a future on this with a gentleman. If they're so deranged on a female, then who's still engineering it? I'm a total straight. And I'm going to tell you, I can't fathom how I am heckled in a restaurant, not by all. In the first place, people wear hats when they go on a bus or out in the air. Now I understood that poor individual on the bus if he wanted a hat on his head because it was cold. I am telling you, that one has to be nailed. I've been trying to figure out who to pin the tail on the donkey. Who is the donkey? And that has to be addressed. I don't want to talk like this normally. I do only because it is that serious. At night, since I